everybody, this is Kurt from EthosReviews. Well, you know, it's getting towards the end of the year now, and I gotta say, a lot of the best games in years are coming out in this month in particular, here in November, but also in September and October. There are a lot of big games that have been coming out to finish out 2011. And 2011 definitely has been one of the best years in gaming, in addition to 2010 as well. So we've had a good couple of years here. And obviously there's big name releases all over the place. You have Call of Duty, Modern Warfare 3, there's Battlefield 3, there's Uncharted 3, Drake's Deception, Gears of War 3. It's a lot of threes. Anyway, you know, but there's been a lot of big games that are coming out, and have been coming out. But there's one game that I feel like is getting overlooked, and no one's really paying attention to. And that really is Kirby's Return to Dreamland. Is there some reason why this game isn't getting any sort of recognition whatsoever? Is it kind of too much of a kid's game now? Or does Kirby still hold a decent, decent audience with, you know, more older gamers, like myself, for instance? And also another thing is that the Wii, I feel like, is kind of getting towards the end of its life cycle. So we're seeing a sort of a decline in the amount of releases. But obviously the Wii is going out strong because it has this game that came out October 23rd, but also it's going to have The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword coming out towards the end of November. So the Wii will not go silently into the night. But in any case, this has been a big, busy year for video games, and you know what? Let's not overlook Kirby. So Kirby has been awesome for years. Remember Kirby's Adventure for the original NES in 1993? It was definitely one of my favorite games for the system back in the day. And you know what? It still holds up well today. And also, who could forget Kirby Superstar? Definitely one of the best Super Nintendo games. It was a Kirby game that had like 6 complete games in it. It was amazing for the time. And also they remade it for the DS a couple of years later. Definitely a great find, and continuing the awesome line of Kirby console video games. There was also Kirby 64 for the Nintendo 64, released in 2000. Not a bad game, but not as good as, obviously, as the others. Kinda had a cool visual style though, it was 3D, quite linear. Not a bad game. So this is Kirby's Return to Dreamland. It, just like Kirby's Adventure, it kind of has its own, each level has its own map to it that you can, you know, select the level and whatnot. So let's obviously go to level 1. Very typical start to a Kirby game. Great, beautiful little graphics here. You know, this game was announced way back in the day for the GameCube. It was supposed to. I remember when I got the GameCube, I always wanted this game to come out, but it never did. And so, for years, I waited for this game and never got to it. But finally, on Wii, it was announced, and didn't really get that much fanfare. But I gotta say, this is definitely a great Kirby game. I know there's been many more ambitious ones out there, like Kirby's Epic Yarn from last year. And that certainly got a lot of praise, and deservedly so. It was unique in its way, but I feel like Kirby's best in a game like this. Another feature of Kirby's Return to Dreamland is his new sucking ability. He can obviously suck like he normally does by pressing the number 1 button. As you know, you hold the remote sideways like you do in New Super Mario Bros. Wii. But, for instance, this giant guy, you just give the remote a bit of a shake, and he has like a super sucking ability. And the animation on a full Kirby is pretty funny as you see him waddle around. But you can wreak different types of devastation here. It's a very, very well animated game and definitely a lot of fun. Big bugaboo about this game is the new superpowers that you can get. And they're kind of like predetermined, you can't just get them anywhere you want. But they do look pretty cool. They usually use the more linear sequences, but sometimes they actually are used for puzzle solving. And they come in a variety of different kinds. Obviously, the really signature one is the sword. It takes out a whole room of bad guys. It looks great. It's definitely adds to the game. It doesn't detract from it.
So it's definitely a nice addition. As you progress further in the game, the levels certainly do get a little bit more interesting. I've heard a lot of critics say that this game's a little too easy, and I guess at parts it is. But, you know, I would say the latter half of the game is definitely presents a decent challenge then, overall. But overall, like this level in particular, music is beautiful, it's well designed, it's just very colorful and bright. It's just got, if you like the vintage look of, say, games like Donkey Kong Country Returns or New Super Mario Bros. Wii, I mean, this is definitely the game for you then. You know, sure, it may be a little bit easier than those two, but it doesn't matter. It's still just a lot of fun. When I commented on the visual style of the game, just this level in particular kind of exemplifies what this game's about. It's like a weird dream world and everything. It's just it's very unique. It's something I haven't seen before. I mean, I definitely appreciate it. And I hope that other gamers would too, because I feel like this game just didn't get its time in the sun, obviously. I mean, clearly there's a lot of bigger and better games out there, but I feel like this game is definitely worth a shot. So what's the story of this game? I mean, does it really matter at this point? You don't really play Kirby games for their compelling narratives. You play for the gameplay, and that's exactly where this game excels. It's fast-paced, it's just got a lot of retro sounds, it harkens back to the good old days of Kirby's Adventure and Kirby Superstar. I mean, that's where it's at. That's where Kirby's always been his best, in my opinion. I say it's definitely one of the Wii's better games.
So, in a nutshell, Kirby's Return to Dreamland is Kirby's return to form. This is the same kind of Kirby gameplay that I grew up with and really came to love over the years on the NES and Super Nintendo and Game Boy and etc. And finally here on the Wii, we have a game that we've been waiting for a long time. This game was supposed to be out on the GameCube, it never came out. Who knows? I never thought it was going to come out for Wii, even though I heard maybe some rumors about it. And then without much fanfare, it just comes out here on October 23rd on 2011. In the midst of one of the biggest, you know, fall seasons in video game history, with all the other big franchises coming out, this old but great franchise came out with yet another good quality game. And yes, it may be overlooked in the long run, and, you know, perhaps sometimes deservedly so, because a lot of these games that are coming out are obviously great. But let's not overlook Kirby, because it really is a definitely very, very good, very strong platforming game. So, with that said, that'll do it here from Ethos Reviews. I want to thank you all, as always, for watching. And until next time, let's enjoy the great plethora of video games coming out here in 2011.